Clean, elegant, simple. No, not me. This. Hey YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to Danny's Tech Channel. If this is your first time here, we focus on PC hardware reviews, how-to videos, and PC builds. I'd like to introduce you to this little guy right here. No, this is not the Xbox Series X, even though it looks vaguely similar. This is the brand new NZXT H1 case. It is a vertical ITX case that NZXT has designed to streamline the building experience, and they've thrown in a lot of little extra things along the way. So let's check it out. The NZXT H1 is a mini ITX case that comes in at 13.6 liters. The dimensions of the case are 7 inches by 15 inches by 7 inches. This fits a full-size GPU up to 305 millimeters or a 2.5 slot card, and it has a dual chamber exhaust design. So both sides have intake coming in, and they have dust filters, magnetic dust filters included, which they will then exhaust all of your air out the back, all of your hot air. The materials that this case comprise of are a steel chassis and tempered glass front. The case is able to be used for Intel or AMD. It has compatibility for both mounting locations for your CPU cooler. The case has one USB 3.2 Type A port on the front, one USB 3.2 Type C port on the front, and one 4-pole headset audio jack, and it has an adapter so you can split it to a mic and a headphone. What makes this case really unique among all other cases is that you're buying 3 components in one, essentially. You have your case, you have your power supply built into it, and you have a AIO, 140 mil AIO. The AIO is a radiator and pump design. It's their own design. This is designed specifically for this case, and it has your hoses coming out the center of the pump and the center of the radiator as well to be allow flexibility on the side, so when you close the door, you won't pinch the radiator piping. The power supply is a 650 watt SFX-L 80 plus gold rated power supply. It's fully modular and it comes cable managed, which is really nice when you're going to build in this. The case also includes a PCI riser card, which is a 16 times Gen 3 high-speed riser card. There are 2 2.5 inch drive bays and 2 magnetic dust filters included. As I said at the intro, this is a micro ITX case. It will only fit an ITX motherboard, the smallest size motherboard that you can get. So you can't use ATX or mini micro ATX or anything like that. Even DTX will not fit in this. It needs to be ITX. As I was saying with the front port IO, it has a USB-C plug. The motherboard that I ended up using for this case did not have a USB-C front port plug, so I just kind of tucked it out of the way and didn't utilize it, which is kind of disappointing when the front port IO only has one USB-A. But there's plenty of ports on the back of my motherboard to be able to run things. This is an almost toolless installation for absolutely all your components. Your front covers are quick release. There's these little button tabs on the front and on the rear that you can pull on, and they require a little bit of force, but they will snap off fairly easily. And you can actually see where the pins plug into. You have to take the front and rear covers off to be able to lift this straight up out of here, which contains both of your dust filters for ease of cleaning. Once you do that, it's pretty much very simplistic on how it's laid out. You can access all 4 sides of this thing, and it is extremely easy to build in. I think that might be my favorite part about this, that it's almost like a pre-built computer, and you're just slapping a couple components into it to make it a finished product. I'll turn it around here so you can see. You see your power supply up top here. Next to that is your 2.5 inch drive bays. You have 2 of them, as I said. And then here's your third chamber technically for your graphics card. The graphics card has its own section here, and it's got shielding all the way down up to the motherboard. In fact, your riser card goes behind the graphics card and loops around in like an S pattern and then plugs into the motherboard on the front side. This is your front of your case that's displayed. The power supply has a quick pop, another one of these little button tabs. They're actually really sturdy. They don't feel like they'll snap off easily or anything. And that hides all your cables behind it for your SFX power supply. Now your radiator is mounted in on a swingable door. If you remove these two top screws, it has little arrows pointing to these screws. You'll be able to swing the door down with pretty much no issues at all. Your fan is attached to the radiator is attached to the door. As you can see, the tubes swing out with the radiator, and then this gives you access to all of your components. You have access to the motherboard, your AIO, your RAM, power cables and everything. Something you can see here, the AIO, when it swings up into position, kind of comes right up against your RAM slots. This kind of makes you forced to use low profile RAM. In this, I'm using the G.Skill Trident Z. It's not super tall, but it's definitely not the shortest RAM that I could have picked. It has a wider heat spreader, and I'll show you a close-up of it. You can see where the power cable comes in. It actually contacts the keyway of the power cable, the 24 pin, contacts the heat spreader on the RAM stick. If I was going to change anything about this build, I probably would have picked like a thinner style RAM stick, a thinner heat spreader, just to make it a little bit cleaner. There's no issues with plugging in. It creates a good seating for the plug, and it latches down like it's supposed to. It's just kind of a aesthetics thing for me, knowing that that is an issue. For my build, I ended up using a M.2 SSD, NVMe drive. The motherboard has a front and a rear mounting location for your M.2. You could use the 2.5 drives. I did not use those locations, but it is toolless. You just slide your SSD into it and it locks it in, and then there's a quick tab to be able to release them out. It's already got your SATA power and everything pre-wired right to the location here. I ended up using my SATA power to power a little RGB light running down the side here, so I didn't take it out, but because it's a fully modular cable set, you could have taken it out to kind of save space or create better airflow, I guess, if you wanted to. But the M.2 that I used, I mounted it on the front side of the motherboard as well, because I was afraid that mounting it on the rear, it would leave it too close to where the graphics card is at. There is a cutout in the back so that if you remove your graphics card, you can change out your AIO. If you want to, you can undo it, replace the motherboard. It just makes it a little easier to maneuver everything in. If you look at the bottom, the power supply has a extension pre-installed because your power supply is actually up top and you'll want to run it. It needs to run all the way to the back. So that's already pre-cable managed and everything. There's a plug-in on the bottom here. If I flip it over, you can kind of see. I'll show some shots of it. But that allows the cable to come out the back. And it's really a neat design because when you have everything standing up, the way that the case is, made to be displayed, all of your cabling comes out the back underneath the motherboard. One thing NZXT kind of shows on their website is that in order to get a better Wi-Fi signal, you want to choose a motherboard that has one of those little shark fin antennas with it's like an external mounting location. A lot of them have it now, and they're getting away from the stubby antennas like I have on here. You can see the choice that I've done for antennas on this. I haven't had any issues, and I don't have the tower near the router. The router is actually right in my office here, and this tower is in my son's room, which is upstairs and down the hall, but it still gets great Wi-Fi signal. Another little small issue that I had with it is on the IO side, there's a support bar that's part of the framing on here. It kind of interferes with two of your USB ports. At least on this motherboard it does. Some motherboards might be a different layout than mine. I'm still able to plug stuff in on it. It was just kind of difficult to make the angle bend and everything. But overall, plugging everything into this, using it provides a really clean look. Your GPU riser card is very heavy duty. I don't know what brand they ended up going with this, if they outsourced it or if they did it themselves, but it is very nice quality. It snaps into place very securely. And then the mounting location on the back where the graphics card actually clicks into, that's bolted into the chassis and everything. It has no wiggle at all. Like it is very solid. Once you slide that thing in and secure it with your 2 thumb screws, that graphics card is not going anywhere. Okay, let's talk about the price on this thing. It comes in at $349.99 USD. What you're getting for your money though is a 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply, a beautiful looking ITX tower case, and an AIO 140 millimeter. If you break those things out individually, especially with the availability of parts and the prices of today's components, you're looking at anywhere between $109 to $199 for an SFX power supply of this wattage. Anywhere from $64 to $150 for an AIO of this size. And a lot of companies don't even make them this small, this like design. And then cases can range anywhere from $80 on the low end all the way up to $300 on the high end for a quality ITX case. If you go for the H200i, which is made by NZXT as well, that's $109 right there by itself. And that's a 27 liter case. This is 13.6 liters. So I mean, the comparison in size on your desk alone, and I think the style of it looks incredible. Okay, let's move on to the warranty. The warranty that NZXT offers with this is 3 years on the riser card, the case, and the AIO. Then the power supply has a 10-year warranty on it. I mean, for you to get everything from one manufacturer, I think it's pretty incredible. I'm not sure how the warranty will be when it comes to replacing things. If they're going to want the entire, so say that the AIO goes out, do they want the entire case back or just the AIO? I'm pretty sure they're going to want the entire thing, which in that case, it would kind of be a complication because you'd have to rip your entire computer apart and you'd be out a power supply, an AIO, and a case all at the same time. Is it worth it to you? That's up to you. To me, it was because it's all from the same manufacturer. So I'm really hoping it's not the case. I'm hoping that if something goes out like the AIO, that they will replace just the AIO and I can kind of swap it out on my own. It is removable. I mean, there's a couple screws and you can take it off of that swinging door. And you could actually put another one in there, a different brand if you wanted to, but I'm pretty sure it would be complicated because of the routing for the cabling. So it is a very tight case. Okay, final thoughts on the NZXT H1. I'm going to do a quick pros and cons because this is how I laid it out for myself. The things I really liked, the pros, it was easy and quick assembly. Everything was included, almost to the level of a pre-built PC. In fact, NZXT actually sells these as pre-built. You can go on their BLD site and buy it, the whole package put together, which is kind of neat because that lets you get this style case without actually putting it together yourself. But if you wanted to get into something, like I said, it's really easy. It's almost a pre-built, and all you're doing is putting the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, and a graphics card in it. Everything else is already in here, and your storage. Another thing that I really like is the size. It's small, it fits on a desk, it is a beautiful aesthetic. The looks of it are great, and the build quality is incredible. I mean, it is sturdy, it is solid, it's like a little brick. The cons on it, I only found 2 things that I didn't like about it. Actually, one thing I didn't like about it, the other thing is not really a big deal. It only takes ITX motherboards, so you're very limited on motherboard availability. If you've looked right now to try and build an AMD system, there are no ITX AMD motherboards anywhere. I have been trying to find one. I was going to put one in this, and I couldn't get one. Hopefully these B550 motherboards, I can snag up some ITX boards for that, and then do some more ITX builds for this summer, small form factor summer I'm doing. The second thing that was a little complicated for me is thermals. Like I said, it's got a pull-through design, like a dual chamber design for this. You're pulling air from both sides and exhausting it out the back. having it split like that is a benefit at the same time as like a hindrance. This side is pulling the cool air in for the CPU, and it's pulling across liquid, AIO, and shooting it right out the back. The CPU temps during Blender, during Cinebench, during gaming, anything, were great. They were, I don't think I passed 54 degrees on any test I ran with it. This is an i7 8700K. It's not overclocked, but obviously those CPUs are not, cool to begin with. The GPU side is a little different story. This is an RTX 2080, EVGA's model, the XC Gaming. I actually had to undervolt the graphics card to be able to keep the thermals where I wanted them. When I first built the system, I didn't change anything. I didn't do fan curves, nothing like that. It ran about 83C during gaming, during benchmarks. When I turned in the custom fan curves, I got it down to about 80. It still isn't acceptable to me. I ended up doing an undervolt on it. I'll explain that in another video. There's plenty of videos on the internet if you want to learn about that, but basically you're just tuning the voltage that the graphics card receives down while still maintaining whatever clock you want to hit. But when I turn that down, now the temps are well under. They're at 72, 70 sometimes, depending on the ambient air temperature, which is great for me. I'm happy as having ITX build that has those kind of temperatures to it. And the fan noise really isn't too bad. During gaming, it gets a little loud, but I mean, you got your headset on. It's not terrible. It's not unbearable that I can't sit next to it and run a game session. During idle, it's incredible. I mean, you don't have any noise from the GPU. You have really no noise from the CPU fan. It is very quiet. And like I said, it looks great on the desk. It performs great. I love it. This is an awesome case. I highly recommend it. It is worth the $350 price tag that they're asking. The only place I've been able to find it for sale is on NZXT's website. Overall, I'm really happy with the NZXT H1, and I'm glad I was able to secure one right away. With parts availability low and prices skyrocketing high, it was nice to pay retail and get it quick. NZXT has done a great job with this one, and I would recommend it to anyone looking to build a small and beautiful computer in 2020. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button down below, and don't forget to hit subscribe so I can see you in the next one.